What is up, everybody? My name is Coach Clay TV. NBA 2K24 just dropped, and one of the things that a lot of people have been asking me is hey, Coach, can you help me out with jump shots? What should I look for jump shots? Can you help me figure out some good animations to look at? Don't worry, I spent the last 24 hours looking heavily through some jump shot animations, and I personally think it's gonna be fairly easy this year, but let me not waste any time. Let's go ahead and jump right on into it. If you wouldn't mind, please do me a massive favor. Please hit the like, please hit the sub button as we continue cranking out more NBA 2K24 content. So if you're wanting to create your own custom jump shot, the first thing you're gonna do on your My Player is go to the animation section. You're gonna hit the R1 or the right bumper all the way over to Jumpshot Creator. You're gonna create a jump shot, and you're gonna see here 4 categories. You're gonna see the lower base, the upper release 1, upper release 2, and the blending and release speed. Now this 2K, I noticed that they changed some things that are very important. A slight caveat, obviously this stuff could change. They're gonna add patches. They're gonna add different animations throughout the year, but this is just what I've noticed right now. So this is on my Player guard build. So if you look at the bottom right of the screen, you're gonna see there's 4 important categories that we had last year in 23 that they introduced. That's release height, that's release speed, defense immunity, and also timing stability. Having high grades on as many of those things as possible is gonna be what you want for a good jump shot. So obviously the higher your shot is for the release height, the harder it is to block. The release speed, the quicker your jump shot would be. Defensive immunity is what allows even contests to be even less effective when you take a jump shot. And your timing stability is gonna help you time your jump shot when you have different cues of depending on how you have the catch animation. And here's the first thing that I noticed when it came to the jump shot animations. So normally when you make a jump shot, especially if you're trying to make a guard jump shot, you want to make that jump shot as quick as possible. So you would go to the blending speed and the release speed, you would max all the way out to be what you see on the bottom left, say very quick. That speeds up the jumper, as you can see in the animation below me. Now this is what I noticed on the guard build. Now notice what happens though when I switch over to my big build. So when I switch over to my big build and I go to the same exact thing, so this is my 7-3 popper big that I made, and I go over to the release speed, notice what the fastest speed I can be able to put my big man jump shot on. I don't have a very quick and a quick release time. Instead, the only options that I have, if you look at the bottom left, are normal, slow, and very slow. This is going to be very important when you start looking for the right kind of animations you want for your jump shot. Now let's start from my guards. For my guards who are looking for a good solid base to use, these would be the ones I would recommend off rip. And I'll tell you why I recommend them. So each lower base has a different grade level, and the ones that I found to be the most balanced of them all. We'll start off with a couple of honorable mentions. I think Cole Anthony is one of those honorable mention ones. A+ defensive immunity, B+ timing stability. But really, just like in 2K23, the Steph Curry one is going to be the go-to one if you are a guard. He's basically A+ all the way across the board for every single letter, but you only qualify for that if you're under 6'5" and you have a 92 3-ball or mid-range. If you don't, a good alternative to that could be Seth Curry. That's for anybody under 6'5" that has a 3-point or mid-range shot of 85 and below. I also really like Jalen Brunson as my lower base. He's basically A+ for everything except release height. Goran Dragic was another one that I liked as well. Pretty much A's across the board, the only thing except release height. For Dragic, you need about an 86.3 or midi. Kyrie Irving is another good one. You need to be under 6'5" with about an 87.3 or mid-range. Isaiah Joe was one that I really liked as well. And even though his release speed is a C+, he basically is an A-, and B+ on everything else. But on this, for guards, you can increase the shot speed when you go to the blending and release. So I'm not as pressed about his release speed being a C+. And then finally, the release speed on this one is horrific, but he's got 2 A+ and an A-. I like the Tony Parker one. Plus the visual cue, if you add that with the releases, has a little bit of a hitch to it. So it should be fairly easy for you to time. And as long as you just speed it up, you should be good to go. But you need an 84.3 or mid-range, which is a steal for the kind of grades that you get for this particular base. Once you figure out the kind of base you want to use, these are the upper releases I would recommend if you're 6'5" and under. And this is where it gets really fun because unlike the bases, anything in the upper releases is not restricted to any attribute threshold. So as long as you're 6'5" and under, you actually qualify for the Steph Curry release, both on upper release 1 and 2. So I'd recommend for my people who are 6'5" and under, both Steph Curry and the other one would be Kyrie Irving. However, if your build is a little bit taller, so maybe you're like a wing or you're some kind of a swing position, these are my top 3 recommendations when it comes to not only the releases, but the bases for anybody that's under 6'10". The first one I would recommend is Malcolm Brogdon. Malcolm Brogdon, outside of his speed release, which mind you, you can still speed up when you get to the blending and release, He's basically A's across the board. James Harden also has another good one. His release height is not that high, which is kind of really IRL. That makes the most sense because he doesn't have a high release point for his jump shot. And the only other one I would recommend would be Terrence Mann. And I would probably recommend those three in that particular order. I would go with some combination of that in the base along with both of your upper releases. Now, mind you, you can just kind of try it out and see what works. The unfortunate side when it comes to this 2K is you can't even really equip it and test it out unless you increase your attributes. So unless you put the VC on your build, you won't even be able to equip these things to go test out to see if the jump shot works. But these would be the ones that I would recommend, and these are the ones that I'm going to try once I upgrade my guy. These are the first ones I'm going to start with. Now this is for my big builds who are popper builds that want to be able to stretch the floor and you need a good jump shot. I'm gonna let you know right now, you're not going to have a lot of options that I think are going to be viable. So let's start with the base. There's only two bases that I looked at and I thought would be worth our time. The first of them being Bam Adebayo. You have to have a mid-range or a three-point shot of 79 and above. The only other one that I would recommend, and I have to put a caveat on this one, is Mike Muscala. He has an A+ on defensive immunity, and he also has an A+ in timing stability. The only thing that I don't like about this one is the fact that the release speed is so slow, but I think you may be able to compensate that when it comes to your upper releases, because that defensive immunity and that timing stability is going to be huge depending on if you're setting the screen and you're getting your feet set or whatever the case may be. I think that'll help you out a lot as a big. I'm not as worried when it comes to release height for bigs because you're already going to be 7 feet tall, 7'3". Now for the releases, these are the releases I would recommend, and I'm gonna save the best one for last. Franz Wagner has a very good timing stability and release speed. It's a fairly easy visual cue. If you want to double up on that, you could definitely do that. And then Marcus Morris Sr. would be the other one that I would recommend as an honorable mention. Now those three don't fit my top three. These are the top three that I would recommend and in the order I would recommend them. Coming in at number 3, the release I would recommend for you bigs to start looking at and testing out would be Tony Kukoc. He's got a B- release speed. I'm not the biggest fan of that, but he's got A- on both defensive immunity and timing stability. Coming in at number 2, I would recommend Jaren Jackson Jr. Triple J. I would see his jump shot as a good one to start testing. He's got a B when it comes to his release speed, so it's pretty quick, along with his timing stability, which I think will be huge for you bigs that don't have a very high 3 ball. And then finally, at number 1, this was a popular one in 23 that was used as a hybrid in a bunch of other people's jump shots. I would recommend LaMarcus Aldridge. Most people are already familiar with how this jump shot's supposed to look. I think a combination of this with the Tony Kukoc or the Triple J may be something worth checking out, but those will be the jump shots that I would recommend if you're a big when it comes to your releases along with your base. Now mind you, the most you need for high grades on these jump shot animations for bigs is a 79 3 or a 79 mid-range. You don't have to go 85, 88 when it comes to your 3. You can still be fairly potent with that 3 ball when it comes to, or any of your jump shots, when it comes to finding the right one that fits you. But this gives you some options that you can at least narrow down the list and start tinkering with to figure out what works, what doesn't work, what you like, what feels good, what doesn't feel good. That'll at least give you a starting point. But I want to open it up to you guys. If you guys have another recommendation as far as jump shots down below, let me know in the comment section and help out somebody else in the 2K community that is also looking for a good jump shot. I hope this video was helpful, man. As we continue making more content for NBA 2K24, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.